Hey guys, so I'm kind of on fire right now. Not literally, no. What I meant is, I just did my Logan Lucky review a couple hours ago, and immediately right away I am posting my review on the Defenders because I just went through a marathon and I finished the entire season 1 of the Defenders, aka the Netflix version of the Avengers TV show. Um, so there's a lot of things I want to talk about, but I want to do it in two parts. The first part, I'm gonna do a non-spoiler part because the show just came out, so I don't think it's fair for me to spoil stuff right away. Um, However, there are a lot of things in the episodes that I want to talk about with spoiler because there are a lot of details that that I really need to talk about. So let's get started. And of course, this review is gonna be uncensored, uncut. So you will see a lot of pauses, and it is just straight out of my head, my direct thoughts, totally unscripted. So overall, do I think this show is well made? Yes. Do I like the fight scenes? Yes. Do I like the acting? Yes. Do I think the show is good? Not that much. Overall, I mean. In fact, I'm leaning to. In fact, saying it's mediocre for me, it's kind of a. Yeah, mediocre is the best way to describe the show as a whole. And I keep on using the word as a whole because there are some episodes that are good, but there are some episodes that were just really bad. What I meant is sometimes, because what I meant to say here is sometimes each episodes, apart from the first two, every episode have a different director, and every episode have a different team of writers, and you can clearly see that because there is a very drastic change of editing or directing styles. You can tell throughout the episodes. The first two, in my opinion, are the worst for me. And they were directed by S.J. Clarkson, who directed the first two episodes of Jessica Jones. So I feel like when I saw the credits, like I couldn't believe that it was the same person who did that because the way she handled editing in this film was actually pretty horrendous. Some of the action editing, the things we complain about all the time, like quick cuts and then rapid editing, everything you can imagine could go wrong in the action film did go wrong. And sometimes the lighting was so dark that you cannot tell what's going on. And these two episodes tried a little bit too artsy with where they're going. And as you can see in the intro, each superhero has their own themed color. Daredevil is Matt Murdock is the red. Jessica Jones is the blue. Luke Cage is yellow. And for some reason, Iron Fist was green. I don't know where that came from, but whatever. I think in the poster his theme is green. Whatever. Excuse me. Just got a drink of water. And every time they switch the character, they use the kind of a subway cutaway. Every single time when they transition from one character to another, and this happens throughout the entire season. I don't understand why it is because it took me out of the moment and it felt like I was watching some other TV show rather than the TV show I'm watching. And in these two episodes, sometimes when they have character have dialogue, whenever they cut back and forth to the characters, they do not, when they shoot the scene, they do not center the characters. They do not put the characters in the middle of the frame. Instead, sometimes they put them far left or far right, and there was a huge space left behind. Now, most of you guys won't even notice, but for me, it was really bothering me, because the only time I can think of when a movie or TV show does that is something else happened in the background, something that we can see coming, but the characters cannot see coming. You know, things they did in horror films. But in here, I just feel like it was very unnecessary. I don't know, whoever's in charge of cinematography, I don't know how they framed the shots. It was very distracting for me. And throughout all the episodes, there are very frequent uses of Dutch angles. Not as bad as Thor or Battlefield Earth, but enough to be noticeable and somewhat irritating. At this point, I just want to note that throughout the Defenders, the whole TV series, it has striking resemblance to Avengers, both plot-wise and cinematography-wise. Because if you observe carefully in Avengers, there were several noticeable scenes where you use Dutch angles. Here, they use the same Dutch angles as well. And also the way the character get it together, the way they develop their characters, and the way they fight together really reminds me of the Avengers. Again, there's some. I'll tread into a spoiler territory on that subject, which I'll talk about it later. The best episode for me was from episode 3 to episode 6, Ashes, Ashes, because these 4 episodes is where they build up their team. It's where the most character development goes. And honestly, the fighting choreography improved dramatically. There are longer takes, and they don't use easy, quick cutaway. The camera is much more stable, and you can tell what was going on. They really use slow-mo. In fact, they never use slow-mo in those 4 episodes, but you can tell who's fighting whom, and all the action can see clear as day. I really like some of the dialogues. They worked. Among the 4 heroes, my favorite actually is Matt Murdock, of course. I think he is the only one throughout the series, throughout the entire season, that offers some voice of reasoning among the heroes. The Iron Fist was better than he is in the TV show, but he still appeared to be more of an annoyance than actual hero. I just don't feel like he's the hero that I want to see step up. The best performance actually come from the villains. Sigourney Weaver was really good in this series, and she was really convincing in the way she does things. You buy into her story. The lady played by Madame Gao was very good. The biggest surprise for me was Elektra, played by what's her name? Elena Young, I think. Elodie Young something. I don't know. I can't pronounce her name correctly. She doesn't have a lot of dialogue, at least in the first half of the season. But the way she delivered most of them from facial expressions, and you can tell her emotions through her eyes. and I think she is the biggest surprise of the entire season so far. Um, I really liked her performance, but other than that, there's a lot of cameos from characters that was had no contribution whatsoever. The ending two episodes were very underwhelming. They were not as bad as the first two, but I felt very underwhelmed by it. It just felt like they need a reason to do some action. There's not a lot of weight into action. Weight as in how much it's at stake of the world around them. Because the middle four episodes set it up so good that when you watch the last two episodes, it just doesn't come out as satisfaction. There was a lot of good fight scenes, but nowhere near as well as executed in the previous four. And there's rarely any character development in this last two. It happens in the middle four. So yeah. Overall, the show is kind of very underwhelming for me. They have not so good start, really bad opening, very good middle parts, and very underwhelming ending. So overall, this is a 7 out of 10. This TV show, my first thought, I would give it a 6.5 or even a 6. But there is a lot of interesting thing played out in the show, even though it's something we have seen before. But I think the way they utilized it was somewhat really clever, and they tried to go for some creative directions. But I just feel like it's kind of underwhelming me. So 7 out of 10 is the highest grade I can give, considering I'm being very generous. Given half of what I really liked half of what I seen. So now we're gonna deal with spoiler territory. So spoiler warning. Remember what I said about the show repeating the formula as the Avengers? Well, it actually does. Because in the Avengers, there is some kind of a MacGuffin events going on that somehow brought all the heroes for various different reasons together. The show does a little bit better than that. We see Matt Murdock got involved in the whole situation because of the earthquake. Jessica Jones won a solve investigation, missing husband for his client. Luke Cage just want to protect his community, and Iron Fist just is obsessed with taking down the Hand. So yeah, I liked it better than how the Avengers set up a little bit, but not by much. And the show also have them having a fight and then bicker and argue. And father figure died, Stick died. And that's kind of sort of united them. And at the end, they fight the one bad evil. And then there is a kind of a wormhole or a building got destroyed. And then all the enemy died with just one single stroke. So that's how everything planned out. It's almost eerily similar. It's eerily similar to the Avengers. Actually, honestly, the biggest cameo appearance that I was looking forward to was the Punisher. But Punisher is nowhere to be seen. He's only seen in the end, in the last episode post-credit scene. By the way, that teaser looks really cool. I really want to see Punisher. I like Joe Bernathal's portrayal of the character. I think he's a really good actor. Punisher is my all-time favorite superhero of all time. So yeah. Also, one of my major complaints about the series is it doesn't feel like the stake involved in here matter that much, because throughout the series we see only one earthquake, some people getting hurt, actually two innocent bystanders getting hurt, two innocent bystanders that are somehow related with the main characters. And this happened in only the first two episodes. So we do not know, for the rest of the episode, they never shown why they're trying so hard to defeat the Hand. Why they want to risk everything to protect what they love. Because we don't see the world ending doomsday talk that everyone was keep on saying. Everyone throughout the show, they keep on saying, oh, they're gonna destroy Manhattan and they're gonna destroy the whole New York City. But the worst damage, the biggest collateral damage they have was only affecting Hell's Kitchen. And that's about it. But I don't see how everything else, and most of the time, the biggest battle happens either indoor or underground. So I don't, so it's very spatial, very claustrophobic, and we do not get the sense how immediate danger there were, because most of the time it was them fighting the enemy. Nobody else see what the heroes does. So when they ask other people for help, and when other people say yes, it feels a little bit unbelievable because they don't see what they're doing. So how can they know why they're at stake? And every single time they try to explain, when they explain to other people why they do the things they do, they keep on telling them, you don't understand, you don't understand. Well, help us to understand. Make them see what happens. Well, not the people, not the heroes, but the filmmakers, the people who are directing, who are writing the script. They have to somehow present a way to make us audiences know what was going on and why it matters. So that was, and especially the ending two episodes, it was them fighting a bunch of goons, and they just saw a bunch of skeletons of dragons. They never fully explained why it will cause the collapse of the entire city. For the way I see it, I don't see how taking away a bunch of bones will make them immortal. Never in the show they mentioned anything about that, and never in the show they talked about why what the villains are doing is endangering the entire city. Not even in the end they explained that. So I found that to be very, very frustrating. And I also didn't like how they resoluted the Elektra is the main villain in the show. It's just the way they resoluted her character was really, really bad. At first, they started out with her being resurrected, and then she suddenly remembered Matthew, and you can see her going to be good, like recognizing Matthew Murdock. And then suddenly, as this arc enveloped, we see them going one direction, but suddenly out of nowhere, the character went to an entirely different direction. She started killing everyone in the Hand and taking over control for no reason. There's no explanation given. It's very random. It was supposed to be quote unquote a twist. And in my Logan Lucky review, I talked about a difference between a twist and a trick. Because playing a trick was like I said, playing a trick with the audience means the story is going in a very direct way. everyone in the film, the characters in the film knows they're doing it. It's just us being quote unquote tricked. A twist means nobody is expecting, and somehow it can go in the very wrong direction. And that's why generally I don't like a twist in the movie, because having a twist makes the movie, no matter how good your twists are. In fact, it's very hard to execute a very good twist. The worst offender in this was Christopher Nolan. In my opinion, his twists are worse than M. Night Shyamalan, because once you know his twist, for me, there's no rewatch value. I talked about it in my previous Nolan video on his characters. I'm not gonna talk about it again, but what I'm saying here is, in the show, the twist doesn't work out really well. And I hate it. Like I said, I really didn't like Iron Fist. Throughout the movie, he barely uses his quote unquote Iron Fist. I think throughout the film, throughout the series, he only used it like 3 times at most, 3 or 4 times. I don't remember. And he's constantly being captured, and basically he become a Denzel in a very weird way. He never does too much. He never contributed way too much. In fact, his action deliberately caused a disaster. So he contributed almost nothing to the plot. I don't like this character. I think Iron Fist in this series is very badly written. So yeah, that's all I have with the Defenders. I think it is an okay TV series. It doesn't get me very angry. I think it's okay. I don't think it's that good. But feel free to watch it, because you might have different opinion than me. You might like it more, and if you do like it, I understand why. But for me, it just doesn't work out too well. Guys, thank you so much for listening to my review. I'm probably gonna bring you Hitman's Bodyguard tonight. And as always, if you like my video, please click subscribe and like. And if you think I'm good, you're pretty good too.